Hey guys, we will get a Noir banner at reset, so let's take a look at how to play her. First of all, what you have to of course understand is that Noir is a main DPS for the ultimate archetype team, which means you play her together with Melania. What makes Noir a little bit special is that her partner in crime is An Li. Why is that? That is because An Li's incantation number 1, called Lily Nectar, grants your entire team the possibility for 2 rounds to apply a certain amount of debuffs to the enemy once they attack. Those debuffs are randomly applied. It can either be a stack of rigidity, 2 stacks of poison, or 5 stacks of burn per attack that your allies do. Why is that really important? That is because Noir is of course all about using her ultimate, and in order for you to get the maximum amount of damage out of your ultimate, you have to apply 10 stacks, right? 10 debuffs to your enemy. And as I said, with the ability of Lily Nectar and every single attack of all of your allies and yourself applying debuffs makes this happen very easy. If you see here you have the possibility to apply 5 stacks of burn with 1 attack already. You would only have to do this twice and boom, you have 10 stacks of burn, that's 10 debuffs, boom, you get the maximum efficiency out of Noir's ultimate. Additionally, you will also have to stack up something called Genius Idea. This can stack up to 10 times, and per stack you have a 6% chance to automatically cast your ultimate 1 more time. If you are at 8 stacks of Genius Idea, you would have a total of 40% to cast your ultimate like 1 more time. That would equal to casting your ultimate twice. Now I have to tell you something about the portraits for Noir, as the more and more portraits you obtain with Noir, the more and more this 40% chance of recasting your ultimate grows. And at portrait number 3, you would have a 100% chance to cast your ultimate 3 times in a row. That would be the recommended value, and that would turn Noir into an absolute berserker. But now back to the stacks of Genius Idea. How do we actually get those 8 to 10 stacks of Genius Idea before we cast our ultimate? That is very simple. You apply 4 stacks of Genius Idea to yourself by using your incantation number 1. Here you can see that there is another mechanic that is unique to Noir, and that is called Spotlight. Spotlight is randomly applied to, not randomly, it is applied to the enemy with the highest amount of HP percentage. And whenever you would attack this enemy with Spotlight applied to him with Noir, you would also have the chance of applying either 1 stack of rigidity, 2 stacks of poison, or 5 stacks of burn, right? Combine this with Lily Nectar and yeah, you can see where this is going. You could apply 10 stacks of burn by simply using Noir's incantation number 1 on the enemy that is Spotlight is applied to already gain 10 stacks of burn, right? Remember, you need this to gain the maximum amount of efficiency out of your ultimate. Then we have to talk about her incantation number 2 as well real quick. Now this is an incantation that whenever you would use this on an enemy, all of his allies' debuffs would be transferred to him. So let's say you have 3 enemies and you apply a plethora of debuffs to all of these enemies. Let's say one enemy has 5 stacks of burns, and the other enemy would have 2 stacks of poison. Now you use this incantation on enemy number 3, and the 5 stacks of burn plus the 2 stacks of poison are now transferred to the third target that you attack with this incantation. This is usually pretty useless, and you should refrain from using it altogether. It can come in clutch, it will come in clutch in stages like, for example, the Mains Bulletin, where you have a boss, a big one, that has ads, right? You can spread debuffs then across all the field and transfer the debuffs from the ads all to the boss. That's how you use this incantation number 2. But now enough talk, let's jump into battle and see how this all looks in action. Here we are. So the first thing that you always want to do at the start of every battle is applying the incantation Lily Nectar to all of your allies with an unleash. That now, whenever one of our allies attacks, they spread debuffs that Noir so desperately needs for her ultimate. Then you, as I said, you should normally play Noir together with Melania, and now would be the time to use Melania to spread stacks of Passion Drain, so that then you can use Noir's incantation number 1, which attacks 2 enemies, to make use of this Passion Drain to be able to even unlock her ultimate at round number 2. That would be gigantic value right there. Now, after you applied the stacks of Passion Drain, you simply attack the enemy with Spotlight on them. Here you can see the debuff applied to this enemy, and you can check it has Spotlight. That is the enemy that you want to attack with your incantation number 1 called Stunt Take. And yeah, you simply do this as much as you possibly can, so that you gain the additional Moxie from Passion Drain and apply debuffs already to this enemy via Lily Nectar and via the Spotlight. And then on turn number 2, you will use your ultimate. That's how to play Noir in a nutshell. There's a little bit more to it, because now, as you can see, as you will see, the Spotlight will now transfer to a different enemy. Now, unfortunately, I killed the enemy that Spotlight was just applied to, but Spotlight changes targets every single round, because remember, Spotlight goes at the start of every single round to the enemy with the maximum of HP. Now, if you attack the enemy with Spotlight, next turn he will no longer have the maximum amount of HP across all of your enemies, and therefore the Spotlight would move to another target. That would grant you a Moxie as well. So you can see there are a lot of ways to generate Moxie with Noir really fast, to then be able to use your ultimate. Another thing, now you can see that we already have Exorcism Time applied to us. That means this turn we don't have to reapply the Lily Nectar. That's just as a side note. You wanna see how many stacks of Genius Idea you have. You can see you have 10 stacks of Genius Idea. Now would be the time to use Noir's ultimate, but you can see our enemies, none of our enemies actually have 10 debuffs applied to them. So what you want to do, you first want to use your allies right now to actually apply the 10 stacks of debuffs. How do you do this, right? You use Sotheby as your healer, that's the recommended one, because why? She applies stacks of poison. There we go. But it is, no matter who you use, you will apply debuffs anyways, thanks to the Lily Nectar. Just Sotheby, for her having poison, she would spread even more debuffs, which would make everything more easy. Since I don't have Melania at my disposal yet, I will pull for her in version 2.8. I use the character 6, because 6 does also make applying debuffs fast easier, as he has an incantation that actually applies 4 debuffs in total to 2 enemies. Very nice. We're gonna use that. And now we have one more AP left. That should be another incantation that actually applies debuffs. Now, since we don't have a second poison incantation with Psychube, we use anything, because Lily Nectar will make it so that anything that we use actually applies debuffs. And you want to see that you spread those debuffs across the entire enemy team, so that as many enemies as possible are inflicted with as much debuffs as possible, so that your ultimate has like increased damage and you apply the maximum amount of damage by using Noir's ultimate. And that's really it. That was everything. Use the Lily Nectar, use characters that apply debuffs like Psychube, use Melania, spread the Passion Drain, spread the stacks of Burn and Poison and Rigidity and everything. Always make sure that you refrain as much as possible by using Noir's incantation number 2. Use your incantation number 1 stun take to attack 2 enemies to make use of this Passion Drain, and yeah, apply debuffs by attacking the enemy with Spotlight on. And that's really Noir. Like, that is everything that you have to know. Partner in crime is Anan Lee. Then you want to use Melania for Passion Drain, and Psychube is the best healer for her. And that's about it, guys. Let's take a look though real quick at her Psychube. Her best in slot Psychube is of course her signature called Rehearsal of Dreams, and this one is purchasable in the shop. It increases her ultimate might by a certain amount. I don't have this Psychube leveled up to max level, so the 12% would actually increase. And then when the carrier is a plant afflatus, which we are, then for each debuff that is inflicted onto an enemy, we would increase our ultimate might by casting incantations, and this would stack up to 12 times. Then when the carrier casts an ultimate, for each type of debuff effect on the target, you gain plus a certain amount of damage dealt, and this stacks up to 4 times depending on how many debuffs are afflicted onto your opponent. So this is, needless to explain, the best in slot Psychube for Noir. Now, just in case you wouldn't have this, right? I mean, you can buy it in the shop, but if you don't have it now, if you pull for Noir and then you don't have enough resources to obtain you this best in slot Psychube, you might already be in possession of Brave New World. This also gives you flat ultimate might, and after you cast an ultimate, your incantation might increases by 20% for the next incantation that you use. And remember that we use the ultimate with Noir very much. We also use her incantation number 1 a lot, so this comes in quite handy in case you don't have her best in slot Psychube. And that's about it for the video, guys. I hope this was fun and informative. If you like Reverse1999 content in general, please consider leaving a follow on my channel. But until next time, don't forget to join the Discord server, link to that in the description. Take care of yourselves, have a great day, and we love this game.